Since the dawn of time, humans have needed randomization. We crave and actively seek out artifacts. These math rocks can be seen everywhere, and in the modern age we now use them for everything. To randomize our sandwiches, our personas, and even our grandma's hip replacements. But there's one thing missing. A missing link. Something so needing of randomization. The humble Pokemon! And so we begin this ritual of randomization for Pokemon, and it shall be called So this is an idea I had because I love D&D, I love these funky little stones, and I thought, what's more fun and challenging than designing Fakemon by rolling dice? Let's go over the general premises, and shoutouts to Roll for Sandwich and all that for the original Roll for ideas. Anyway, we'll start with my Crypt Keeper fingers rolling a d4. This number will denote how many stages the Pokemon will have. 1 stage, 2 stage, or 3 stages on a 1 to 3. And on a 4, we'll roll a d1000, or the closest approximation to it, and get a pre-existing Pokemon and apply the randomization process to it instead. Next we roll for type. With a d20 there are 18 types, so 1 to 18 is a certain type. Now we roll this twice to get the dual type, or on a 19 we roll again and take it as a single type. On a 20 we roll 3 types and make it a gimmick form Mon. Another d20 this time, except we skip this phase for pre-existing Pokemon. This denotes the creature or object the Pokemon is based on. I randomize a list of 20 things from creatures to objects, maybe concepts, and what I roll is what I get. If we do another episode, the list will be different, and feel free to comment down below an idea for these creature types. As well as like and sub and share this video around, wink wink. This time we roll a d8 for the Pokemon's primary stat. Now I know this isn't exactly a required roll, but I thought this would make it more fun, trying to design the Pokemon around its main stat. A chunkier Pokemon for defense, or a skinny live Pokemon for speed. 1 to 6 is for the 6 main stats, on a 7 I roll for 2 primary stats, and on an 8 the Pokemon has legendary stats in their final stage. And finally, as all good D&D campaigns need, some wild magic. This is another d20 and the list can have all manner of different things. For example, one of them is to create one of the forms as a Beast Paradox or a Mega, or one of the rolls is to create a Pokemon with no eyes. Again, put a comment down below for some wild magic ideas. So those are the 5 categories for our rolls. Bear in mind this is still the first of hopefully many Roll for Pokemon episodes, so we'll fine tune and work on it as we go along. Let's begin with roll session number 1. The dice I'm using today were given to me by my GF and have some beautiful little flowers and stuff inside. Very pretty. And the dice tower was also created by my GF. So let's begin with the d4. And we rolled a 2, so a 2-stager this time. Next is our type rolls. And we got a 13, so a ground type for its primary type. And for our second roll, 17, so a grass type. Oh, ground and grass type, same typing as Archifex from Astara. Okay, creature roll time. Here there are some weird ones here, but let's roll. And we got a 15, a peacock. A ground and grass peacock is gonna be interesting. Maybe a chia pet. Up next is the stats. Then we rolled a 6, so a speedy peacock. Ah, it's just Roadrunner, isn't it? And finally, wild magic. I hope we don't get a 5 here. And a 7. Oh god, that's too close. Oh, a Beast Paradox. That's a fun thing. Hey, future Liam here. I forgot to roll for the Beast Paradox types and stats. But I rolled Ghost and Psychic for the type and Defense and Speed for the stats afterwards. So there we go, a ground grass speedy peacock Pokemon with a beast form. Let's go to the time lapse. Peacocks themselves lend pretty well to the idea of grass types. I mean, before I learnt there's actually a plant called the peacock plant, it would have had a fern for a tail anyway because it looks so much like ferns. But that large tail doesn't lend well to speed. It would probably be like a giant parachute. So I wanted to make the tail a bit smaller while making those legs larger. Something closer to that Roadrunner. I got Pheasantipity for some reference here, and for the Beast Paradox form as well. Especially the weird, awesome eyes it has. If it isn't too obvious, the body is like a little pot for the Pokemon. Well, pot shaped. I'm sure this would be a Pokemon some people would hate, me included, just because we kill all our house plants. I had some flip-flops on colours trying to figure out the best layout for it, but I think adding in some slightly darker parts helped add some contrast to Killer Status. A strange Pokemon for a ground and grass type, but I think it fits well. Killer Status, the swift Pokemon, a ground and grass type. Killer Status moves so fast that they become blurs to anyone viewing them. This uses up so much energy that Killer Status must spend much of their day absorbing sunlight for photosynthesis. The leaves on their back lay flat usually, but when it needs to sunbathe or impress a mate, it will flourish them, standing the plants up. The larger the leaves on Killer Status, the more popular it is. Male Killer Status usually have brighter green in their leaves, while females have smaller and darker brown color leaves. Both male and female Killer Status leaves contain great medicinal properties, but rarely do they fall off Killer Status. Killer Status' abilities are Speed Boost and Chlorophyll. The beast form was hard with the typing Ghost and Psychic. I opted towards the idea of peacock's tails as sort of giant ghostly-like entity, much like how in real life peacocks use their tail as an intimidation tactic. This one would also have those similar eye-like patterns on their extra feathers too, but Killer Status's eyes are real. Many sets of them, they'd curiously watch you unblinking in ultra space. Hisuian Typhlosion was a big inspiration for this one, especially the tips of the tails, and I love the effect that fire has, so I thought it'd be really cool to imagine the tips of the tails swaying eerily in the breeze like that. Killer Status, Beast Paradox form, the Haunt Pokemon, a Ghost and Psychic type. In Ultra Space, without the large open plains, Killer Status was weakened, and instead had to rely on intimidation tactics. This awakened a long dormant ability to summon otherworldly powers in their tails. At first thought to be merely patterns in their tails, this was proven untrue as the tail has shown to have a mind of its own when awakened, able to show emotion and even devour the emotions of Pokemon. Killer Status uses these awakened tails to protect itself like a cocoon of ghostly energy. Killer Status' abilities are Intimidate and Curse Body. Okay, and we are back. Let's roll that Caltrop again. As another 2, a 2-stager. Maybe this time not a form. And for the D20 typing, we got a 12. Ooh, yes, a dark type. And for roll number 2, we got... oh, Hydreigon typing, Dark Dragon. This will be interesting. Alright, and for creature roll, we got a 14. Oh, a laptop? Well, this is part of Roll for Pokemon, dealing with the weirdest choices. Let's go. And for the D8, we got a 1. So a chunky boy. Oh, and the irony of the laptop mon having HP as its primary stat is just mwah, poetic. Alright, finally Wild Magic. And we got 9, which is a food mon. So we have to turn this Pokemon into a food related Pokemon, as well as its laptop creature type. Now this is going to be difficult. Well, this is the equivalent of casting Fireball on myself with Wild Magic. So I struggled for some time to think of an idea for this one. If it was just a Dark Dragon laptop, that'd be pretty easy, but a food mod? So I did a little bit of a gross thing. You know how sometimes little bits get in your keyboard? Maybe a laptop keyboard as well. Little food crumbs that can cause damage to the keys? Well, what if that kind of transformed like a Grimer into a whole mon? The idea was it was this blob that had used an old junkyard laptop as a shell. Almost its entire inside's made up of maybe like a sticky cheese and bubblegum like texture as it sticks to its shell. I did say this would be gross. I ended up changing the eyes a bit to suit more of a trash man looking creature. It actually has almost like a rival Trubbish look to it, or if Clamper was just the nastiest thing in existence. Megubite, the gunk Pokemon, a dark and dragon type. When laptops are discarded, any gunk, especially leftover food that has been hidden away within its keys, transforms into Megubite, a sticky and quite disgusting Pokemon. Megubite's body is infused with the laptop and will use it like a shell to protect itself. Any attachments the laptop had, Megubite will take control of, and some will even have makeshift hands made of mice and microphones, previously plugged in. Megubite collects scraps of food, which increases its mass. When it is too large for its laptop shell anymore, it undergoes evolution. Megubite's abilities is Liquid Ooze and Sticky Hold. For the evolution Gigubite, I wanted to truly bring that dragon type into it. The fact that this thing is made out of essentially goo means that it can have its shape warped to be a bit more draconic. The laptop becoming this muzzle with the broken keys and screen looking a bit like the teeth. I want this thing to be mega gross, so these sinewy strands keep the laptop sticky and always are there even when it opens its disgusting mouth. Despite this thing being completely foul, I have a relatively soft spot for it, as it looks like it would be a little friendly in the end. Colours I kept it almost the same as Megubite, but darkened them a bit as this thing is getting oldie and mouldy. Same Gigubite, same. The best thing about rolling HB on the design is that it can have this big old stocky frame. Imagine if I rolled speed and it would just be this big string cheese looking man. Gigubite, the gunk Pokemon, a dark and dragon type. Junkyards are terrorized by the sticky, gross horror that is Gigubite. The Pokemon clings to their former laptop and now uses it like a beak. It bites down with a broken screen with sharp shards within. It smells horrid as it lumbers around and has an almost impossible time sneaking up on enemies. If the stench doesn't alert you, the sounds of sticky footfalls will. Strangely, the food scraps that it eats is converted within Gigubite to dragon energy, which it can expel in a massive explosion that tears Gigubite apart. It will then quickly reform. Gigubite's abilities is Liquid Ooze and Sticky Hold. Alright, this is the final roll of the video, so let's go. And on the D4 roll, we got a 4. So that means we'll roll 2d10 and a D100, and we'll put them together to make the dex number of a Pokemon. Alright, first we roll our D10 and we rolled a 3, so that will be our 1's number. And then we roll our D100 for our next number. Which is an 80, so far we have 83 then. And then one more D10 and... well, we got a 3 then, so Pokemon number 383. Future Liam again. Next time I'm going to roll 3d10 because the D100 makes no sense, so my bad. But you'll still be shocked to find out that our number 383 is actually Groudon, so this will be something. We're skipping creature for this one and going straight to typing. Alright, for our typing we got a 7, so flying type Groudon. And for our typing 2 we got Steel. So we got that Jetzacodal and Skarmory typing. Alright, primary stat time, and we rolled a D8. Ah, well, seeing as it's Groudon, this makes sense for this, so we'll just say anything goes. And now finally for our wild magic, this will truly show us what exactly we're making here. And we got a 14, so this Groudon is going to be a Pus Paradox, which kind of changes everything. We're going beyond Primal Groudon even further in the past. I haven't done too many Paradox mons that aren't Beast Paradoxes, so for Groudon I had some trouble with keeping the design consistent with what we have. Paradox Pokemon keep the general colour scheme and details very similar, apart from maybe Koraidon and Miraidon. So for Groudon, I wanted to keep the general shape and colours, but put a spin on it and turn it into a much more of a Rayquaza shape. As I drew in the claws that were going to be wings, it looked almost like a sea creature, which would have been fitting if it was a water type. It could have been the opposite of Kyogre, but I do like the idea of a land-based quadrupedal Kyogre. So I turned the claws into more of a smaller wing shape to add some variety to the design. I turned the tail into this almost ornate mace. I imagine it can like slap things with it. And then made the body armor that is initially on top of Groudon and now envelops the creature. Perfect for a steel type. I love the bottom jaw sort of covering the rest of the head where the eye is, allowing this sort of more primal eye sticking out from the contrast. This one actually turned out really well and I'm super happy with it. Actually, I'm pretty happy with all of them, to be honest. Soaring Feather, the Paradox Pokemon, a steel and flying type. This Pokemon closely resembles the legendary Pokemon Groudon, although Soaring Feathers seems to have a few key differences. Soaring Feathers is able to fly in the sky like another closely related Pokemon Rayquaza. It uses the 4 winged appendages to quickly change directions and altitude. Unlike Groudon, Soaring Feathers lacks claws and instead uses powerful blasts of energy from its mouth to attack opponents. Its body is incredibly tough, but it utilizes their speed to outmaneuver enemy attacks rather than take them head on. More research on this Pokemon is required. Soaring Feathers' ability is Photosynthesis. And those are the designs for the video. I really enjoy the idea of Roll for Pokemon. It combines many of my loves, and I want to give a shout out again to Roll for Sandwich because they did give me the inspiration for it. So what did you think of the video? Comment down below if you want more Roll for Pokemon, and any suggestions you have for any creature types or wild magic types you'd like to see. And also tell me what you think of the Pokemon in the video. If you liked the video, please like and share the video around, especially to Pokemon and D&D lovers. Next video we'll get back to our scheduled programming. I really wanted to get this idea out as soon as possible. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time.